Cool. Call this meeting to order. Thursday, October 18th, 2018, Fourth Redevelopment Housing Authority. We're making our city more inviting than ever, that we are. The Fourth Redevelopment Housing Authority, PRHA Board of Commissioners meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. All meetings are conducted at the PRHA's main office, 3116 South Street, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23707, unless otherwise noted. All members of the public are welcome to attend. Madam Secretary?
All right. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner
Here.
Lalonde?
Here.
Commissioner Morgan?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts?
Here.
Commissioner Washington?
Here.
Vice Chair Chapman?
Here.
And Chair Smith.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Awesome. Before we go to the approval of minutes, I just want to welcome Miss Jiggett from EDA.
Oh.
Did I get it right? Yes, for being with us today. And I want to thank you. Yes, ma'am. Commissioners, before you have the minutes of September 20th, 2018 minutes. Is there any in readiness on the minutes?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved probably second. Madam Secretary?
All right. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan?
Here. Yes. Sorry.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Washington?
Yes.
Vice Chair Chapman?
Yes.
And Chair Smith.
Yes. Commissioner Washington. Gentlemen.
You excuse me for just a second? Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Old business, Mr. Bland?
Just old business, we sent out a second request to the board members to get your suggestions back for revisions for the draft bylaws. Commissioner Morgan has sent his, and I sent those copies out to you. We just received some comments from Commissioner Washington today. So if you get those back, we'd appreciate it. And then what I'm asking that the chair could give me two board members to work with myself and Karen, our attorney, to finalize a final one that we can probably present to the board maybe sometime in January or February for final approval. I appreciate it. But I know it's a document, and we had to work on it, so we may have to come back for one or two revisions. But we need to try to do that to try to bring our bylaws up to date. And that was from the meeting last time. And the other piece was that it was the last time we asked a question about when we're gonna meet with the city again. I think all of you are aware that Monday night, we have a joint work session with the city. Mm-hmm. And I did provide you with the agenda items for that. For those items, you have a copy of what's gonna be on the agenda for the session with the city Monday night. Mm-hmm. And those were the old business from the last meeting. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, let me know.
Commissioners, anything?
Well, there's two things that I thought I'd put to your list real quickly there about whether we're going to take any action on those surveys that we'd asked the staff to do. And then the second one, was there going to be a timeline for the performance review of the executive director? And I didn't see that included in the old business.
Okay. Yep, you gotta do that.
Can you catch me up? I apologize for stepping out. Where are we at?
Old business.
Old business. I was saying on the old business, the last meeting, it was asked what would be the items that we would discuss with the city at the work session Monday night. You have a copy of that agenda
Okay.
of those items. And I did send an email out to the board, to the board members asking for their suggestion. And 3 and 4 was suggestion came from Commissioner London. And then the other two we had on, which were the development property going to the city, as well as future plans for Swanson Home. So those are the 4 items that we have for Monday night for the meeting with the work session with the city council.
I thought I mentioned the red development. Is that included in 3, or how are you handling that?
Well, we're still working on that. We're not at the point really to implement that yet. So that can come as part of,
But wouldn't that be part of future planning? Is that,
well, from the standpoint, it's just a conversion of one program to another. You're not really doing anything physically to change, at this point, to change anything with the property. It's not like Dale where you're doing rehab at this time, or you're doing Lincoln where you're demolishing Lincoln and you're building a new Lexington. It's just going from one program to another internal.
well, it's an administrative act. I get that part. But okay, if everybody feels okay not to bring it up at this point, I'm okay with that.
That'll be noted, Commissioner Lalonde, what you said about the evaluation. And then also you said a timeline, right? For the evaluation of our executive director.
I thought we had a requirement, we were supposed to do it annually, and we're past that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is this an appropriate time for me to speak to that?
Yeah, Bruce brought up his old business, go ahead.
Okay, one of the concerns that we had discussed previously was the idea of making sure we had an evaluation of our executive director. And I have been working on that. And I have a copy of the, and while I was vice chair, we, with the chairman, we agreed that I would work this process out. So what I've done is come up with an evaluation process for our executive director as a tool for us to use to begin this process of evaluating him. Now, we are kind of behind the power curve on this. What we will do is use this as an initial instrument, and pending your comments from the commissioners, we will continue to develop it in the future. But there was no instrument that I could find or get my hands on within the organization, because there was nothing. So please know that. But what I have done is provided something that all the commissioners will be able to provide feedback and use, and from that I'll take the collective information and we'll decide on how we want to present that to Mr.
What you want to
Money.
do, Commissioner, you want to share it with everybody to see how they
Yeah.
feel about it first.
Okay, well, yes. I guess my enthusiasm is such that I know it was going to be so good. But yeah, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's, I
Send
don't
it to
think,
the
I don't
secretary
think,
and then have her email it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give it to,
well,
secretary.
yeah, okay, I can email it to you. But I came ready to give you a copy to take tonight, and you can still email
Okay.
it to everybody. You know, this is an urgent situation. This is not something that we have not been trying to accomplish. So it takes time, and you have to be thoughtful about it, because he is the executive director, and it's a confidential form. So hold on to that. So I'm willing to give everybody who wants one tonight, and then I will email you a
Okay.
copy, or you can email it to her, or however you want to do it. But just know that it'll be just what it is to the commissioners. Make sure you have 2 sheets or a double-sided sheet, one of the two. Okay, 2 sheets or a double-sided sheet. And there is a place on it where you'll read it and see it, and then we'll talk about it some more. Okay.
That one, this is one for Chapman.
Yes. It's this way. Who didn't get 2 sheets or a double-sided sheet? Everyone?
Chair.
He has his. Everybody has 2 sheets or a double-sided sheet? Okay. So, yeah, we want to approach this as expeditiously as possible and work it. Okay? So you can take it home. And He will email you a
Okay.
copy,
All right.
or I can email you a copy, we'll both email you a copy.
Okay.
To make this happen.
All right.
Thank you. And thank you also, Mr. Alon.
Thanks, Dr. Washington.
I apologize for not getting it sooner to everybody, but I wanted to get something that everybody could work with and evaluate our director in a professional, executive level way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Old business? There being none? Moving on. Blaine?
No, that was.
All right. Okay. Finance. Okay, you got it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
19 for you to have one, too.
Okay, September financials. For the agencies, Central Cost Center, Swanson Lincoln, and HCD program, we are operating on a 3-month. The rest of the partnerships are based on a 9-month operation. You'll kind of notice that the layout is a little different as last month. It's kind of a work in progress as I'm getting feedback from the finance committee. When we were at the CERT conference, they kind of gave us an idea of maybe that a lot of the housing authorities present to their board. So we kind of changed it up. And changed it up even more a little bit. I'm making the upper area more of a balance sheet area as to where it was a little, I guess, confusing at first. Everything is looking well. Central Cost Center, as most of you know, that's kind of been our focal point. We did operate in a profit. It is slight in nature, but it still is a profit, and we've come a long way with work from our staff. Several months in the beginning of the year, we had been kind of in a $50-some thousand deficit, so operating at a profit, we made some great strides. Other than that, there really hasn't been too much change, other than the Hamiltons did operate in a profit this month. And we're going to be working together with Val and then to kind of tear these budgets apart and kind of try to get our numbers more in line. Phoebus is still kind of a operating at a deficit, and it has to do with the big bond payable that we have that Mr. Bland has reached out to them to try to get something taken care of and get renegotiated, refinanced. Any questions?
Let me just say, I did reach out to the company to hold the bond on Phoebus, and the gentleman's gonna get back to me next week, and I did express to him that we would like to look at trying to renegotiate that, to try to get the principal interest down, less than what we're paying now, so, and he said he will get back to me so we can provide the board with more information, probably over the next several months, trying to get something that makes sense financially for Phoebus.
Commissioner.
Yeah,
Rogers.
the last meeting that Rita and I had with finance and the follow-up today, that's the recommendation that we're given to the finance staff, is start doing that drill down. I mean, the obvious, the 80% that we all look at on the finance sheet, for the balance sheets, but there's things that make it up that I think they ought to take a look at. Any mortgage or instrument like that doesn't look favorable, we ought to be taking a look at it, given where interest rates are. A couple other ones. We do have some money in investments. $1.2 million is being invested through Raymond James. I'm recommending to the finance staff that they need to take a step back, look at the investment policy, and making sure that we're making the money work as hard as it needs to work as the staff is. There is some. I think there can be much better returns made on the investments. I still have concern about the Swanson accounts receivable. It's sitting at $3 million. I'm still, I know Lisa briefed us last time on where we are with that. We're talking years now that we're sitting on accounts receivable. It does affect cash flow. You can't spend accounts receivable. You need cash. So I think some decisions are going to have to be made on whether that money is going to be received or not. Because, much like we did last month, we got $4 million from the Effingham sale, but we had to take $1 million of it to prop up the loan that's over in Lexington. If we had the $3 million back from Swanson, we wouldn't have to take money out of a sale that we had. Also, this building has this pretty significant value. It has an LLC that is set up. It's a PRHA LLC. It just raised the question, whatever type of organizations do we have set up within PRHA that's not within the walls of PRHA? So one, look to see if there's anything we can squeeze out of this building. The way it's working is the LLC owns this building, PRHA pays rent to the LLC. Is there a better way to do that? And then lastly, and Mr. Blaine, not to steal your thunder, but Mr. Blaine officially designated Shannon as our permanent CFO, so I think that's fantastic. She moved that interim acting title up, and now she is the CFO, so I think it's going to be fantastic, and she's really turning over a lot of rocks for us, so we really appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm just glad Shannon's doing. She worked hard. She's here late at night. I tell her she need to go home. And I appreciate how hard she's working. The housing authority appreciate how hard she's working. And with her help, that's the reason why we've been able to allocate what we need to allocate, and our balance sheet is looking much better.
Awesome. Anything else, Commissioners?
I did want to make the board aware, given that we were talking about propping up another new home development. I was advised, as you may or may not know, as part of the renovations of Dale 1 and 2, part of the financing package called for the receipt of 2 AHP grants from the Federal Home Loan Bank in the amount of $500,000 each. In the midst of Dale 1 is when the authority was going through issues with the board. The AHP grant, which I believe was originally approved, was converted to what's called, I guess, a suspension list.
Mm-hmm.
So the project, and it was no longer available to receive the grant. And so therefore, obviously, when Dale 2 came about, same thing. We were recently advised that the Federal Home Loan Bank is revisiting that, and they are very hopeful that they can get those two moved off of the suspended list and fund them both. So that would be an extra $1 million that has already been expended that will come back to the authority. So we're very hopeful that that will occur. I don't know a timeline, but they seem to indicate that the Federal Home Loan Bank was very anxious to make sure these grants were funded. So
That's good news. Thanks, Rob. Awesome. Great news. Any other commission? There being none, we're on to security, no business, housing, no business, development, no business, human resources, no business, reports. Bland, September significant activities report.
In your package, you had September significant activity report. You had an opportunity to look at it. If you have any questions, if not, if you have an opportunity, if you haven't read it, look at it, and if you have any questions and you want to jot those down, you can email me or call me. We can respond to them, or we can go ahead and put that report on for the November meeting if you choose to. But I'm hoping you had an opportunity to read it. I don't think there's anything earth-shattering that's in it that's not have a negative impact on the daily operation of the housing authority.
Gotcha. What I do want to say is commend you, Commissioner Londa, on the book bags and the drives and the stuff you're doing outside of just you being a commissioner. Great work, great philanthropy, great way of giving back. Thank you.
I'd just like to make a couple comments or highlights from the significant activities report. One, I think it was a tremendous boost to the housing folks that we got the additional VASH vouchers from the VA.
Yeah.
Being a veteran, it means a lot that we can take care of our chronically homeless veterans, and they increased the number of vouchers that we had available to them. So that's fantastic. Obviously, it tells us, or it should tell us, that the powers that be have credit. I mean, a lot of faith in what we do, particularly in what we do with veterans, and that is a highlight. I just can't say enough about the family support, self-sufficiency folks. I mean, healthy living, diversity, job fairs. I mean, just an absolutely phenomenal job. And I would recommend that Mr. Bland, Chairman, as we talk to the city council folks, we really ought to brag about some of the things that we're doing for the tenants here. You know, the increase in jobs that they're getting, the folks that, I mean, the scholarships that are coming up, all the activities that they do is just absolutely fantastic. Lastly, again, we have a resident advisory board. They meet regularly. I think it'd behoove us to maybe in our packages when we get them on a monthly basis, just get the minutes from those meetings, so we can just see what the tenants are saying about what's going on with us, so we can have some. I don't intend to attend those meetings. Just like to see what comments are making. Right. But great job, great report. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Awesome. And Mr. Bland, you was appointed to a board, weren't you?
I was appointed to, I sent the board an email, appointed to a finance board with HART. That's the housing insurance industry. They have several boards that they do insurance for probably 65% of the housing for the nationwide. So, and they're based out of Story, Connecticut. So they meet maybe 3-4 times a year, and they ask when you appoint those committees to attend those meetings, but they reimburse the housing authority for the travel expense when I will attend those meetings. Yeah.
It's a lot going on. In a good way. Oh, yeah. All right, Commissioners, anything else? Mr. Bland, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Since we are going to be working on the bylaws, I would like for the chair to at least, I need 2 board members to work with Karen and myself on the bylaws as suggestions come in. So I'm hoping that tonight that two board members can be a part of that committee. We have the human resource, we have the various committees, but this, I call it a governance committee for the purpose of working through the process of the bylaws. I would like to, if it's okay with the board, I would like to have Commissioner Morgan, since he was the first to submit his comments, to be a part of that governance committee. And whoever else that the chairman would like to appoint, whether he want to appoint himself or somebody else to work with Karen and myself, so we can start, working through the draft. And like I say, probably going to be 2 or 3 revisions, but we want to start that process within the next 30 to 45 days. Yeah.
I'll do it.
Okay.
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 Good with it.
Appreciate
You
it.
good with it?
Sure.
Okay. Board, y'all good with it?
Yeah, works for
Okay.
us.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner Washington.
Just want to, I had in the note that, yeah, thank you, that was a great appointment there. Questions about, is it any way we can encourage Allstate to give us some money? That was, I mean, really, they're holding on to a lot of our money. And if there was some way to encourage them, to tell them we need our money, just a reminder, sometimes a simple reminder goes a long way. So I don't know how you can handle that, Mr.
Well,
Bland.
I think, and Alicia can talk about this, but I think we have been reminding them regularly, and we just had to wait, wait on the process, along with waiting for money from FEMA.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not just Allstate, FEMA also. So, and, you saw what happened. You had 2 major storms came through the Carolinas and Florida, so the time, it's going to be hard to determine the timeline. It really is.
Yeah, well,
But I will say that I know Alicia working with the gentleman that we have, and we're constantly on them, with the money. So, and that's monthly. We are reaching out to them.
okay,
Yeah.
great answer. How about the mold remediation? What I thought was,
We if you go out to Hamilton, you see they are replacing all the exterior siding and the insulation. We will be after that. When we put out the proposal for the interior work that need to be done. We will put that out and start that process. I meet with the tenants the third Wednesday of each month at 6 o'clock. I had a meeting last night. And last night, they didn't bring up any mold issue. They
Thank God.
because what they say, they see what we are doing at this point. So, and they truly understand, and they're working with the housing authority through those issues. And as we get a few to pop up, we're taking care of those right away. So we're on top of it. Hopefully the next, 60 days or so, we should be hopefully getting proposals back, so when we put out to do the interior mechanical stuff we need to do.
Okay, and another great big thank you, Mr. Bland, for the collaboration that we're doing with the National Call Dad program. They provided our residents with all their address to impress clothing last year, and they want to do that again. And there was some mix-up that you stepped in, and we handled that. And I want to personally thank you for your willingness to engage and be involved with that, because that is a program that is taking off. Of course, I work with them, but even working with them didn't stop the circumstances from happening. But I personally want to thank you for getting involved with that and letting them know, because they were really let down on the cancellation, and they called me, and I said, well, I'm gonna call Mr. Bland, but thank you for that National Call Dad involvement.
Let me just say, I'll pass that thank you on to our community service department, because, but I would pass you, it wasn't just Ed Bland.
Well, I don't micromanage or get involved with the staff, but please pass it
I
on
will.
to them.
Okay.
They're really, really thankful for that. And that's pretty much all I have.
Any other remarks, Commissioner?
And that's a collaboration that we're doing with other organizations, so that's really good.
One thing that I wanted to possibly add to our agenda for the joint city council meeting was the current plans for GPDC. I talked to the chair about this because I was made aware that the GPDC is back and active, which I think is tremendous news. There for several years it was not, and so wanted to see, I guess it kind of goes along with CDBG properties and so forth, as how best, because I think a lot of times we talk about, well, economic development will handle one part. Well, it seems to me with the housing authority, we should be looking at the residential part, and whether that be ideas of how we can spur residential ownership development in the city on some of those properties, and then how we can work with the city in terms of how some of the funding goes. I know with Norfolk, they had entered into some agreements with community development organizations and utilized home funds from HUD to provide down payment assistance on these new homes. And they were pretty significant figures, 15, 20, 30,000, which would be darn near 25% of the purchase price, which makes it a lot more easily financeable. But anyway, I wanted to maybe see if that was something we could discuss with the city, because I think if you can, and I hate to use Norfolk as an example necessarily, but
It's a
if
good
you look at what
example.
NRHA has accomplished with East Beach, with Broad Creek over the years, the reason that worked was because the city and the housing authority really worked together to make those happen. So
What's the GPC? Tell
the
me.
Greater Portsmouth Development Corporation.
Thank you. Just so many acronyms.
Yeah, that's
and I'm
a-
still new. Greater Portsmouth
But
Development.
basically, I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a collaboration between the city, economic development, and the housing authority. But it was just kind of a brainstorming of ideas of how,
And the Portsmouth Partnership.
and the Portsmouth Partnership, but how you can spur development. And again, it may not be the city can do it or economic development, but maybe private or we could do it.
Collaboration.
Yes.
Can I ask our council liaison with us, because I know that the city manager kind of have already did the agenda. If you could, if possibly, if you could reach out to
I
her maybe
will.
and see if she can add that on,
Right,
from Monday night.
yes.
Yeah.
Because we had some conversation about that, Ross, earlier in our council year, about staying on board. And I think it was supposed to be a conversation with PRHA to see if they still wanted to be a partner. I think it's a third or a fourth partnership, you know, that's involved in that. So
Because we are meeting.
Right.
We are meeting monthly now.
Okay.
But if you could
I
add
will,
that
I will
on.
tell her that you want this to be added to.
Thank you.
Alrighty. I guess we all have been making remarks, right? Mr. Bland, Executive Director, comment?
You have I gave you a copy email from HUD, reaching out to Housing Authority nationwide to see if they can assist with, the families that got flooded out in the Carolinas and other parts of the country. We're gonna try to see what, as long as we stay within our bounds, we're gonna see what we can do to assist as a housing authority. Just like they reach out to all housing. I gave you a copy. It came in this morning, that email came this morning. So we're gonna see what we can do, in order to, you know, show our support from the Portsmouth Housing Authority to assist some of the families if we can. That's all. That's beyond that. I normally send you stuff you on a weekly basis or bi-weekly.
Daily, twice a week.
So I don't have anything else to add outside of what I just left on your table today.
Yeah, what are your favorite things?
Commissioners' comments, agenda and non-agenda items.
Right, so,
Vice Chair,
yes,
you got the
thank you,
floor.
thank you. All right, so I wanted to kind of piggyback a little bit off of what Commissioner Lalonde brought up. I know it's been probably the last two meetings that we had regarding our website. I'm not quite sure who's in charge of that, but I've been going back since he mentioned it too, and I had made that observation too, that a lot of the things up there that really need to be addressed. I think what we have to keep in mind is that the website is really the face of PRHA. That's the first impression that a lot of people get of the housing authority is when they go online and they see what we offer, who we are. And if that information up there is not kept accurately, it's not current, it kind of gives people a bad impression of how we operate.
Gotcha.
So I just wanted to say that we need to keep that fresh in our brains as to making sure we address that and to get everything up there current. And the links that are, sometimes you click a link and there's nothing there. You know, those kind of things that kind of puts a bad peel in people's mouth of how we work. And we don't want to do that, you know.
Something.
Sure.
I'm glad you brought that up because we have a, you want to tell me what we're doing at this point?
We're actually going, we did update the website, I don't know when the last time you checked, but all of the links should work now.
Okay.
All of the old information is gone, so everything should be updated. We are going through an overhaul with our website, and we're gonna be working on, with that as well.
Good, good. I think I noticed that the occupancy is still located on South Street.
That was changed.
Right, okay, yeah, I
That
looked
was
at it.
changed.
Okay,
We
yeah,
updated that property inventory, it was some outdated information,
Right.
but all of that should have been corrected.
okay, okay.
Well, the focus, and I appreciate bringing it up there, Vice Chair, the focus I had was, to me, the tenants that live in the buildings, and you would know it better than I do, they would like to see the activity calendars.
Yes,
And the activity calendars that
Yes.
were there before were June. Now there's no activity calendars.
right,
They
right,
they just didn't put anything.
exactly. Like,
So,
so things
they-
were removed,
Yeah, and
but
not-
nothing was put in,
Right.
or updated. That's what I'm saying too. So, he's
And
correct.
again, we're doing so many great
We
things
are.
with FSS, that's the only place they know to go
That's
to.
it.
Is what we're doing within our own walls. There's just nothing there now.
Right, right. And I also want to mention, Chair Washington, too, from the resident standpoint, I wanted to, whoever we're working with, as far as our website is concerned, some of the forms and verification forms that are needed, some of those should be available to the residents on the website. They should be able to download some of that stuff. We have a lot of people that are very tech savvy, and instead of a lot of the managers having to mail information out to them, they should be able to go up there. Just like now we have the rent online payments. a lot of stuff should be available to them electronically, because that's where we're going, that's where we are right now. So that's just something we need to keep in
Oh, I
mind.
absolutely agree. We're working on that.
Okay.
So they'll be able to fill the forms out online.
There you go.
They'll also be able to use their smartphones. Right now, you can't use it, not smartphone friendly.
Correct.
So that'll be a part of our website overhaul as well.
Good.
We're gonna work on it.
Okay,
And may I add to what you're saying? The fact that our residents no longer need to go to Norfolk for employment. That's another, applications and information and all those kinds of things. That's another thing that can be added to our online information. That's really important to our residents. And the more good news we can put on there for the residents, the better off they will be and the better they will feel about us who are charged to provide them with the best care anywhere in the world.
and I also want to add, like Commissioner Lalonde said, also too, because we're doing so many good things, we should have some pictures and things from the Family Self-Sufficiency Program that's posted up there. So again, when people look, they'll say, oh, you know what, they got a lot going on over there at Course for Redevelopment. They'll see it, and they'll be more inclined to do business with us. So that's just what I'm saying about that. That's just been really a thorn in my flesh with that website. We really need to get that together. One other observation that I made, I noticed also too on the website that we do, that we have some, I'm a little concerned when I see job postings for the particular reason that we've just done so many layoffs. We've got so many people who've lost, and I'm trying to figure out, we're posting jobs, but yet people are no longer employed here. I'm just trying to make sense of that. And my other part of that question is, do those people, the ones that have been cut, those that are no longer here, are they getting some type of preference when you're posting the new jobs? Do they get preference because they were former employees here, or do they have to compete just like everybody else? So I'm just a little concerned to see new jobs when people are no longer employed here. I'm trying to just make sense of that in my head.
Okay.
Two comments. The last time I looked at the YouTube of the video of this thing, there was only 9 hits on the video, which probably tells me 8 people from this building looked at it. Since we have, one of those, we talk about all these properties, and the only time I've ever seen them all is we had a bus trip, I guess early on. We took over as commissioner, and I've never been back. All right. I'm just making the recommendation that if we could move our meeting periodically to one of our community centers, since there's only one person who's looking at the YouTube video, at least we could have the opportunity to look at the properties. When somebody's talking to me about lead or mold or flooding, I can at least say, okay, understand what we're talking about now. So that's just a recommendation. The other one is, I've talked before about, at least myself, and I'm sure the other commissioners here, we bring a wealth of talent and experience, and we're residents of the city of Portsmouth. And Mr. Bland, we get your comments, if there's any way we could, I know I have to tell my boss all the time what I'm doing next week, next month, and what things I'm going on. If there's any way you could just send us an email once a month or so, hey, these are the 5 meetings you're going to and things you're going, so if we can offer you some, I don't intend to go with you to those meetings, not at all. But I just don't want you to be blindsided by something that's, something that's happened in the city or somebody you're going to meet with, that we can help you be successful. So I know we get the stuff in the mail, but if I remember, we have 2 responsibilities as commissioners. One, to hire the executive director, and I'm assuming the performance appraisal, and second, the responsibilities. So just like, in my opinion, it's like a little more dialogue on how I can help you, be successful.
I'm sorry, commissioners, any other comments, commissioners?
I had one last one. Even though Norfolk is a wonderful paradigm for us to look at, I don't believe that Norfolk is the only place that we can go and look at excellent models for RAD housing or other, and you sent this to us.
That came from the HUD website.
Oh, good. So, and this is in North Carolina. So I'm just wondering, how do we, you just gave me the answer. I'll back off. We can go to the HUD website and look up these.
And the only reason I sent that to you was it give you some idea of what RAB is.
Right.
But that was on the, it tell you really what the meeting, what the heart of RAB, that was for information only.
Well, the other piece about that is, I looked at these townhouses, and they're kind of attractive. I don't think they are as attractive, at least in black and white, than what we have, but it sure does give you different ideas. And like when we were up in Pittsburgh, we saw some of those different ideas. So that's good stimulation. So thank you for that.
Okay.
The website.
Yeah, the HUD website.
Any other-
Just the last one. I just wanted to find out, and maybe, I don't know if Ms. Winston can answer this, but are we getting any type of user feedback regarding the online rent payments from the residents? How is that working?
Actually, it's working good. They really like it.
Thank you. Okay,
do.
good.
Very convenient.
Okay, good.
Let me add to what you just said. Just notice with technology, the social media, and where everything is going, it's going there. It's either you get along or get out the way or get ran over. Just like you said, we use social media, YouTube. You know, YouTube had a crash the other day. That's letting you know right there the servers are getting hotter. And the same thing with us using social media to get out information, and we're going in the right direction. I commend you all for your expertise in what you do and what you bring to the table. And I mean that, because you sacrifice your time, because you don't get paid to do this, so you're sacrificing your time, and I appreciate that. And one thing you can't get back is time, and I'm gonna get you out of here in time. We're going in the right direction, I will say that to you all. And I commend you for what you do and the sacrifices you make for this board and for this city, and for these residents and the staff that work here too, as they work tirelessly. With that being said, let's just continue to grow, you know. Let's continue to grow, learn, grow, and change. That's what I know to do. The most constant thing we got. So again, I thank you all for all what you do for this board, for the city, your service. Thank you, Councilwoman, for taking your time to be the liaison on the board.
I'd like to add one thing
Yes, ma'am,
in
go
too,
ahead.
because all of the conversation that you had brings to mind one of the 4 big things that City Council came up with at our
Okay.
board retreat is the smart city.
Gotcha.
And so upgrading your website is part of that whole smart city, where it
That's right.
connects people to information and communication. And also sitting on one of the boards with the regional level with the broadband initiative, where we're going to be bringing in the fiber optic networking system that will give your residents more access to be able to have internet access, which affords them more opportunities. So applaud you for helping us to be a smart city, because it is one of our 4 big things that we want to take on with the city this year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And also one thing
Yes,
too,
ma'am.
because we don't have, Bruce brought this up, we as a council, I went to a forum last night, and one of the things that residents were concerned about with it, and they raised their flag on, yes or no, are city council members accessible to, residents?
Residents.
And I would think that I am, because I do a lot of talking to everybody and emailing and all of that
Gotcha.
stuff, but a majority of the people who answered that question said that not. But we do have our community meetings quarterly. We meet one at Churchland Middle School, and then we have another quarterly meeting where we have at Vitalwe. And it's different than our city council meetings, because people can come right up to the table and talk to us about Swanson Homes or Hamilton Place or anything that's on their mind, so that is more interactive and it's more one-on-one. So it might be a good idea to, maybe not every meeting, but maybe once a year you have a meeting in another location where it's more accessible to people getting access to you.
Could I just add to what you're saying? And it is, it's more cost efficient for us to go to them than for them to come to us. And we have to think in terms of the people that we serve. And they have to have babysitters, find transportation if they don't have transportation. The cost for them could be significant as opposed to the cost for us to meet in one of their subdivisions. And I think compassion and conscientious concern about the people we serve is very important. One of the things that always comes up in surveys is, do you ask the people? No, that's another subject, but I'll just support you. I won't go to the second part.
Okay.
I'll just support that.
Yes.
Right.
It's what we do.
Okay. I said what I need to say. Public speakers, PRHA allows up to 5 minutes to speak. Do we have any speakers?
You know I'm going to say.
You got the floor.
Firstly, thank you for allowing me to be here today. I am a commissioner with the Economic Development Authority, but I want to segue to what you said about updating your bylaws. And it's very important that we understand I'm really here as a citizen. I have no legal standing with the PRHA board. I'm just here as a citizen because your bylaws do not speak to an ex officio member coming from the city of Portsmouth, such as the director of development or someone within his department, which I, as a citizen, I feel this should be included. You should identify ex officio members, including your city council liaison, because for our bylaws with the Economic Development Authority, not the Department of Development, but the authority, you, PRHA, you have 2 ex officio members who are legally, really required to attend our meetings, and that is the executive director and the deputy executive director. You do not have voting privileges, but you have carte blanche, access to our closed meetings.
Wow.
And this is important because as we do economic development, we understand it's not in a vacuum. The residential component, the educational component, the commercial business component, they all work together in synergy. And if anything occurs during one of our closed meetings and you don't have your ex officio members there, and it's something that you all needed to weigh in on, as the old folks would say, you wouldn't have a leg to stand on, because you being the ex officio members, and that includes our liaison from the city council, Vice Mayor Simmons, you have a standing, a legal standing, because you are defined in our bylaws.
Wow.
So I want to stress that. You are defined in our bylaws. When I come, I'm coming as a citizen. When you all come to us, and Ms. Winston has been very diligent in coming, but I just wanted to reinforce it. You have legal standing. You can come to our closed meetings. You can't vote, but you can certainly have input into what we are discussing. And so I just want to encourage you all with your bylaws to update it to declare some ex officio members for your board. No voting rights, but certainly to be able to sit in on the closed meetings. But that said, it was important when these bylaws were drafted years ago, that the bylaws for the Economic Development Authority, that PRHA have ex officio standing for their executive director and their deputy executive director. So it's very important. So I do want to say that to you again and reinforce it, that if you're not at the table, then we can't hear your concerns about whatever projects that we're discussing. And with all those properties that transferred to the Department of Economic Development with CDBG money, just because it's now with the city does not mean that you won't have visionary insight into what will be going on. So I strongly encourage you to understand how important your role is for the Economic Development Authority. And on that, I guess that closes my comments to you.
And they've also requested that, because Ms. Jiggets is a board member, but they question whether it should be a staff member that comes, because she is just a citizen who, is here listening in on information. So Dr. Patton may be making a different directive and sending somebody from Economic Development Department
Gotcha.
staff rather than a board member.
Yes, and thank you for pointing that out, because the other thing is PRHA's board, as well as EDA board, we are not allowed to get involved in day-to-day operations.
Right.
But staff from PRHA can communicate with staff from Department of Economic Development as it pertains to what's going on in your day-to-day operations. So thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anything else, Commissioners? Anything, Madam Chair, is any motion to adjourn?
Make the motion?
Motion and properly second. Yeah, we adjourn. We adjourn.
Good job, man.
Thank you.